And weather prognosticator Chad Merrill here with a detailed look at the month of July now that we are here at the end of June or the first part of July, depending on when you are watching this podcast. And the jet stream is characteristic of a low pressure cutoff from the main flow of the jet stream across New England. And we have a high pressure ridge across much of the nation's midsection. This low pressure will bring a couple of thunderstorms over the next couple of days to the mid-Atlantic, but I will touch base on that right now. We do have a significant weather alert for Wednesday, July 1st, with dangerous lightning, perhaps gusty winds from this area of low pressure, but it's also producing another spoke of energy on its western flank that is going to be moving south and east. And with this particular energy moving south and east into an unstable atmosphere, as we get in through the afternoon on Wednesday, July 1st, we are looking for thunderstorms capable of dangerous lightning and perhaps some briefly gusty winds across the Delmarva. Here is the atmospheric setup, looking at some hot days ahead. I talked about the weather alert on Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, the storms will be isolated in nature as this low starts to pivot away thanks to this heat ridge building across the nation's midsection, which will bring even warmer weather through the mid-Atlantic in through the middle part of July. As a matter of fact, where we have that heat ridge building, the temperatures, as you can see here, have been well above average across the nation's midsection, June 27th through the 29th, and this heat is expanding into the east. So while our temperatures have been above average the last couple of days, we will see that continue to build as some of this heat across the upper Mississippi Valley moves towards the nation's midsection. We've already had a taste of a heat wave, which is defined as 3 consecutive days with temperatures at or above 90 degrees. And here's Washington Reagan National Airport, June 26th through the 30th. The 30th is not listed yet, but I did see that the temperature exceeded 90 degrees. So we've had our first heat wave in Washington, D.C., but we've also had our first heat wave of the season in Richmond, Atlantic City, Charlottesville, and Baltimore, Maryland. Now, if we look at temperatures for the first half of the year, which is now over, at Baltimore, we had a very mild start to the month of January and February, and that above average anomaly, as you can see here, here's 2020, continued until the late part of the spring, and then temperatures dipped below average for a couple of weeks in May and the very first part of June, but since then our temperatures have been well above average. So just this period in late spring were the temperatures below average so far this year. Historically, as you look at this temperature curve, July is the warmest month of the year at Dulles International and all across the east as well, but the mean high temperature is 88 degrees, and that usually occurs in the first 2 weeks of July. So July, we typically have the most number of days with temperatures at or above 90 degrees, and that is the case with the lower Susquehanna Valley. Look at this peak with temperatures at or above 90 right here in the middle part of July. So this is climate data for parts of the mid-Atlantic. Another thing we are going to be looking for is, as this heat ridge builds, occasionally it will be broken down by a weak area of low pressure that may traverse the northern part of that, and that weak low pressure, as it moves into very unstable air, can create the recipe for dangerous thunderstorms or derechos. As a matter of fact, derechos, which produce widespread wind damage, July is the second most likely month for these dangerous thunderstorms to occur. So that is something we will be looking out for, and I will give you some specific dates as to when I think it could possibly happen. The North Atlantic Oscillation, which controls our weather only in the summertime, it controls our weather only if it's extremely above or below average. It's going to be well above average or above the zero line over the next 8 days, and that signifies a very warm pattern across the east. So this is another factor in our forecast. So going forward, Saturday, July 4th, no weather worries other than a couple of isolated thunderstorms during the afternoon, but all the fireworks in the Mid-Atlantic will go on without a hitch. No weather worries. Sunny and warm on the 5th. The best chance for widespread wind damage from a thunderstorm would be Sunday, July 12th across the Mid-Atlantic. Thunderstorms are also likely on Monday, July 20th. Flash flooding is possible, and the hottest day of the month will likely be Friday the 24th, where the temperature reaches very close to 100 degrees. Our important reminder for gardeners and farmers, though, when we get into this very warm pattern, that instigates a lot of evaporation, so the soil can dry out fairly readily, even with occasional periods of showers and thunderstorms. The best time to water the vegetation is prior to 10 a.m. or in the evening after 7 p.m. Again, this will be necessary with the temperatures above average and slightly below average rainfall expected. We are also expecting Tropical Storm Edouard to form close to the Florida Panhandle and then move out to sea between July 5th and the 10th, but the Mid-Atlantic will be spared any beneficial rain from this particular system. Besides the fireworks on July 4th, the penumbral lunar eclipse will be happening, and that's when the moon passes through the Earth's partial shadow. Unless you have a telescope, it'll be very difficult to see because just a sliver of the moon is taken off, so to speak, or shielded by the shadow. So, the time of occurrence to look up in the sky, away from the city lights, would be 11:07 p.m. for the Mid-Atlantic. Also, a couple of other sky phenomena happen in July. Jupiter is brightest in the night sky on July 14th. Use a medium-sized telescope to view the details of Jupiter's clouds. But if you have binoculars, that will reveal Jupiter's 4 largest moons. Saturn will be visible July 20th. That will be one of the brightest things in the night sky. If you have a telescope, you can see its rings and a few of its brightest moons. Mercury will be highest above the horizon in the morning sky just prior to 6 a.m. on July 22nd. And then the Delta meteor shower peaks overnight on July 28th to the early on the 29th. So unfortunately, with the second quarter moon, that will block some of the meteors, but the best viewing time is after midnight at a dark location. And if you know the night sky pretty well, look towards the constellation Aquarius. So these are just some of the events happening in the night sky. Don't forget to log on to almanack.com if you want to order the 2020 Almanac or sign up for the Almanac in digital format. Have a great week and 4th of July.